Okay, I had a video earlier where I used these little mask ROM adapters to make a star ocean. So this will be a little simpler video on just some of the ease of use, I guess you could call it, of these. And so anyway, what I'm going to do is I've got a couple of examples I'm going to show you. I'm going to build an extended High ROM game on a donor cartridge. I'm going to show you how to kind of repurpose these cartridges, these 1A, 3B variants or cartridges. I mean, they're really almost good for nothing. So they have a maximum native capacity of 1 megabyte ROM or game ROM. So I'm going to show you how to make this one in a fairly clean way of how to expand it to 4 megabytes. So using the adapters. All right, so and then in case anybody is wondering why this is shaped this way and with these holes the way they are, I'll get into that as well. So I'll do that first. So this cartridge here, this is a 2J3M, which means it's got 2 ROMs. J is the mapping, so it's a high map. M means it has the MAD1 decoder, and it's rev number 1. So 2 ROMs, MAD1. So this one natively has a maximum capacity of 2 megabytes, 2 times 1, because the ROMs here are 32 pin, and 32 pins is the max. 1 megabyte, 8 megabits is the maximum, that 32 pins can accommodate. So this was my older version of this. You can kind of see that these don't really sit next to each other. They overlap each other. And so one of the things I did was make this board more narrow. And then also, if you notice right here, this is the little slot for the cases. And this board comes right up to that slot. And so, and in some cases, the board comes over that slot. So I'm going to remove these. Okay, so here's the adapters with no ROMs on them. And you can see now why I have this curved the way I do right here. So anyways, also, I don't know if you noticed, but there's normally a capacitor that sits right here, and that cut also kind of helps that leg of that capacitor to kind of not be in the way. So anyway, so that's one version, and then another version of this is the more common 2A3M variant or version. So it's 2 ROMs. A means low map. M means MAD1 decoder, and this is Rev 11. So anyways, now you can see on this version, my old adapter actually got in the way of the slot. Right here. And so that was my old adapter. And so you can see that having the newer style, it doesn't, it doesn't go that far. So that's the reason why for this cut. And then also some of these, for whatever reason, the ROMs actually sit closer to each other. And so these, anyway, so the more narrow boards allow two ROMs to sit, next to each other. And so natively, this cartridge, so if you take a game ROM that's 2 megabytes and then you split it using, a hex editor tool or one of the ROM utility tools that you can find on ROM Hacking Net. Anyway, so you can take a 2 megabyte game, split it into 1 megabyte chunks, and then you could just mount them. So I'm gonna have to pause for a minute. Okay, so I've got my adapter, and it's on this spring interface. So something heavy on it. Shotgun shells do pretty good. All right, I'm gonna program it. So yep, those are good. So it takes about 1.5 minutes. So I'll just, if you want to skip ahead about 1.5 minutes, that's about how long it takes to program. So. Anyway, so while this is programming, which shouldn't take much longer, I'll just do about 3 game builds using this adapter. And then I have another little device, and basically it expands the capabilities of these, 1A 3B boards, that are 1 megabyte only, and that pretty much sucks. So anyway, so we'll do that. All right, so finish programming. All right, so okay. All right, we'll just start with the 1A 3B bastard child that nobody likes. So the bottom of the boards have a layer of silk. It's not the best insulator, but since there's no vias bubbling up here, then we should be able to put it down pretty confidently. All right, so we're gonna. Now the game I programmed was Super Metroid, and it's in the 4 megabyte class. It's 3 megabytes, but it's as soon as you get in that beyond 2, then it's 4, because that's just the next address line. Okay, so this is Metroid. Now, Metroid does have some vias that are kind of bumps here. So we want to insulate against them. There's two ways we can do it. We can either put something down, or when we solder this on, we can lift it up. Just give it a little bit of height. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of height. So it'll be elevated just a little bit, just to avoid those bumps, those solder holes. Okay. So now this has a 32-pin ROM, which means there's no place for A21 and A20. It's just physically impossible for a 32-pin chip. So what we'll do is make some jumpers from here to here for those two address lines. And then also, this tells you what to do. It says cut 4, 7, and 9. Okay. So number 4. Come on. 4, 7. And 9. Okay. So we got 4, 7, and 9 cut. And then we're going to jumper A20 and A21. Okay, so this is A21. Hopefully you can see this. Now A21. So this is real-time testing, obviously. Or A20, excuse me, for this one. So the last thing to do is we have to bring a jumper wire from edge 40, where it says 40 there. So we have to scrape a little bit of that green mask off the top and then do a jumper wire to the back where it says A40 on that pad right there. So, all right, so now solder will wick. So if I solder to any of these edge connectors, it'll just wick right down it. So I'm going to put some tape right here so that doesn't happen. I'm going to scrape this, just this top part that's still green. Probably can't see it, but so so right here is where I scraped it, the green off. So just gonna put a little dab of solder here. Unfortunately, the wire has to go from one end of the board to the other. There are no short routes, but every now and then you'll get a hole, like see that this hole right here. It's a via that's not filled with solder. So I'm just going to poke right through there. And that'll be my connection, my jumper. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of do a sloppy, just get her done connection, and I'll come back and I'll clean this up to where it's a little more professional looking. And okay, so anyway, so that hole, was our pathway through. Then it's going to go all the way over here to this pad right there. And again, I think, we can probably do some make it pretty. I'll just have it flop out there, but have it kind of running next to the circuit boards. Again, that's something I'll do on cleanup. Just so, all right. So once I get this jumper done, then this should fire right up and save. And it's just too bad they didn't run that pin 40 somewhere. Okay, so the adapter all looks good. This little pad needs to be jumpered for it to work. Oh, I got a couple more holes to solder. Okay. All right, so it's a little messy, but after we confirm it works, then there you go. 4 megabyte game, 3, but it might as well be 4. Running on a 1A 3B cartridge, and that's what it took right there. Okay, so that's like I said, I'll take this wire and I'll kind of maybe even glue it next to these boards so it's not just hanging out there. Okay, So the next one is an extended high ROM game. Now, I've already programmed the ROMs. And on this one, we're going to do two things. We're not going to bridge these because that's a direct connection to the ROM chip enable. Oh, I almost forgot. I have to do one more thing to this one. So we need to disable this mask ROM because there'll be a bus conflict. This ROM will try and talk, and this ROM will try and talk. And so, so we need to tell this ROM to be quiet. So we're going to take this pin here, cut it, and then I'm going to just move it over like this. And then I'm going to solder those together. And what that does is it makes the mask ROM invisible. It turns it off. Very important. Okay. Anyways, most of the time, because the TSOP ROM on the back is faster than the mask ROM, and so that's why, you know, it worked. But it would, at some point, it would definitely hang and fail. So, all right. So, using this adapter for extended high ROM game. So I've already programmed Tales of Fantasia, and Tales of Fantasia is a 6 megabyte game. So one of these ROMs is a 2 megabyte, the other one's a 4 megabyte. So the 4 megabyte version, or chunk of it, the lowest, that's going to be called ROM 1. And then we're gonna solder the ROM 1 designation. Oh, man, can you see that? It's right here. So, all right, so this is gonna be ROM 1. And then this other one is going to be ROM 2. Go figure. Okay, so ROM 2, ROM 1, and I do not have these bridged because we want the decoder to now handle the chip enable signal. Okay, that is all you have to do. There's no cutting on the back. There's nothing else. You just do you have to tell the boards, I'm ROM 1, I'm ROM 2, and that's it. You just, so those two jumpers, nothing else. All right, so this goes here, and then this will go right on top. Oops. I'm about to put that on backwards, aren't I? All right, and then also what we're going to do is I am going to solder this line first. This will allow me to reprogram it should I want this to be something different. So we're going to put this one on first. And then we're going to put this one with that same hole that says WE, write enable. It's going to go right through there. Okay, and put that on. doesn't like my solder. It's a little thick there. Okay. On that wire that I just stuck through. It's a little thick, so there we go. Okay. Alright, so now this thing is down. I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure and do the corners. Now, at this point, you know, here's the stack. And most of the time, I mean, you can get the real thin solder, but most of the time when you solder, you can just kind of, you know, get the top pin, you know, hot, and then push a little solder on the bottom. That'll take care of getting that, so you don't need real thin solder. So, you know, we have to solder both boards, so it's important that the solder get down to the one that's underneath. Quick inspection. Okay, those are looking pretty good. All right. Okay. Again, this is a long form video. I hope my head's not in the way. Okay, those look pretty good. I'm gonna take this wire that I stuck through, just gonna bend it over so it touches this pin right here. Okay. All right, now this should work as is. Just don't make a liar out of me. And it's gonna make a liar out of me. I think it's just dirty pens, I think. Yep, just dirty. Just dirty pens. It's a good lesson to clean your edge connector. Okay, so just need to clean this edge connector. And then I always replace my electrolytic caps with surface mount, solid ceramic caps. I'll just do I'll pull these out and I'll just put a little solder ball, and then I'll just put them on. Let's see if I got one. Yeah, so like this one, for example, that's what it looks like. Just get rid of the electrolytics. I've seen too many that leak. All right, so that one's done. All right, last one is 2J3M, so 2 times 1 megabyte high, and get rid of the blanks that were just for physical show and tell. All right, so I have 2 boards or 2 ROMs that I'm going to mount. All right, so now because these are now on these, I put 1 megabyte ROMs. Let's see if you can see that. So anyway, they're 1 megabytes. They're 080s, and so so a lot of times we need to like trim these capacitor legs or move them. Let's see. So this is this game I'm making here. This is Secret of Mana, and Secret of Mana is a 2 megabyte game. I split it into 1 megabyte chunks. This is the first chunk, the lowest chunk. So I'm going to put it right here. But I think what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to raise this one up too. But I'm going to put a little more solder on these end ones, just so when I put it on, it'll give it a kind of a natural lift. Because we're using the cartridges decoder and not, an onboard decoder, then we just bridge the chip enable line here. We don't have to tell it I'm ROM 1, I'm ROM 2, although you do need to put them in the right place. So the lowest chunk would go on the bottom, and This won't take as long, hopefully, to solder. Yeah, so nope, I don't want it that low. There we go, that should be good. So you see that I have a little gap there. Okay. Right, try not to put downward pressure, you know, where you would flex or bend, you know, the board, the very thin, you know, adapter board. This should go pretty quick. So yeah, the only real drawback to these is that the 4 megabyte chips, the ROMs, are hard to come by now. But the 1 megabyte, which is this one, and the 2 megabyte ones are actually still, you can still get those pretty reasonably, like $3. Okay, and then there's no pins, you know, there's no pins here because it's only a 32 pin chip and this adapter is 36. But it's okay, these can just kind of hang over, it's fine. All right, so same thing, we want to put a little bit of a gap underneath here. Just don't want it sitting on one of those, you know, via bubbles that sticks up. That's the main reason. Definitely do not want shorts. It's very frustrating to get a short. Okay, almost done here. I've actually never tried this exact method before, but there's no reason why this shouldn't work. Okay, now we have to disable the ROMs. Oops, did I forget to do that? I did, look at that. On the extended high ROM, I forgot to disable the ROM. So that's that one. And then bend it over. Maybe that's why it wasn't turning on. Kind of important. Okay, so now it's disabled. That could have been why it wasn't turning on immediately. All right, we have to do the same thing to this one. To both of them, actually, to both ROMs. So we need to cut this one and then bend it over. Now this one's a little trickier because it's right up against this other ROM. So to be creative on this one. See if I can get to it. I hope you're catching all this because I'm not watching the video. Okay, so yep, there we go. All right, got that one cut. And bent. So now just solder it. All right. Should work. There we go. Yep. Even if you had adapters with only, 4 megabyte or even 2 megabyte ROMs on it, so long as you only programmed, in this case, as long as you only programmed, the first megabyte and then the second on the other one, so it would still work. The address lines have to be driven always, and this adapter has resistors on it that will pull the lines low that are floating, so they won't float if they're not connected. So anyway, so that's a very long video, but just shows you that this little adapter here is very versatile. And when I put the plans up for this you can get thicker versions. Just the thicker versions, you'll have a much more difficult time, getting two to, stack together. And, but, whatever. And then I'll put the plans for this up too. Again, this is just to make a low ROM, low map board that's a 1 megabyte max into a 4 megabyte max. Just by doing those 3 cuts on the top, adding this little bad boy and those jumpers. So okay, well, I think I've beat this horse to death, and there's not much more to be said other than so on this adapter has little pins for 13 and 14. And so 13 and 14 is necessary for decoding for SRAM. And so I had one of these made up to where you could bridge 21, 20, 13, 14, everything you need, and this is either high or low map, and you just select if it's high or low, by that jumper right there. So anyway, this is a video for another day, but this essentially marries to the back of this marries to the back side of this, of a cartridge, and then you put the big mask ROMs there. So again, a video for another day. This is way too long as it is.